welcome to the Rick Fuller podcast, presented by Rick Fuller, the team leader of the #1 real estate team in the San Francisco Bay Area and Sac County for most recent sales, according to Zillow. Rick is a community leader, national real estate coach, and real estate investing expert. He and his team have also been nominated as Antioch's Small Business of the Year for 2019. Congratulations, Rick.
Thank you, Christina.
I'm Christina Morales, a writer and marketing specialist, and Rick is my dear friend and my mentor. Today, we're going to talk about how to build a web presence that attracts qualified real estate buyers and sellers every time. And to help us tackle this incredible topic is Rick's own web designer, Clifton. I'm handing it to you there, Rick.
Good in Bonago.
See, I can't say it that good, so I'm throwing it to you. Clifton is the owner and founder of Clifton Creative Web, a web design development and marketing company that builds beautiful, effective, customer-generated websites for businesses. Clifton is a designer and online marketer and has spent 20 years mastering the art of creating websites that generate clients for businesses. I've seen your work. You are incredible, Clifton, and we are so excited that you're here today.
Thank you very much, Christina. I'm excited to be here too. Thank you.
So Rick, you and Clifton have worked together for quite some time. Can you tell us a little bit about how you met Clifton and some of the projects that you've worked on?
Well, yes, Christina, thank you for facilitating this. And Clifton, thank you for joining us. I really appreciate our friendship and our relationship and all that we've had the privilege to do. You know, now going on nearly 10 years.
Yes.
I can't believe I'm old enough to even say I've been working with someone for nearly 10 years. I had met Clifton in a small business group. We both had attended this group. We would meet and have breakfast every week. Clifton was the web designer and I was the real estate professional. It was a one person per profession organization. And the funny story is that I was ready to launch a website. This is nearly 10 years ago, and I had interviewed two other web designers. And the two other web designers that I had interviewed specialized in real estate. They specialized in websites for real estate brokers, real estate teams, and real estate professionals. And I thought, well, I should interview a third, and I met with Clifton. Clifton, do you remember that day?
Yes, I do.
And at the end of the meeting, Clifton was more expensive than at least one of the other, and I immediately knew he was the right guy to go with. And that started off a relationship, web design, and even more than that, we've been great friends for nearly 10 years. Clifton, we shared an office we have a 2-story commercial building, and Clifton had the upstairs in that building for a very, very long time. And we have built lots and lots of websites, and we've helped a lot of real estate brokers, real estate teams, and real estate agents do the same, which has been incredibly cool because we've taken the success that we've learned and the things that we've established, and really, Clifton, the things you've helped me do. And now people do that really all over the country. And Clifton has been my sole source. And if I would tell you to you this way, the reason why I selected Clifton is there's a lot of companies out there that build beautiful websites, but few of them are both beautiful and effective. With Clifton, your website's beautiful, but it's also effective. In other words, people find it. It shows up online when people search for your service or your product. And that's the game changer.
So Clifton, not only are you beautiful and effective according to Rick, but how did you get into web design and what do you love best about your business?
Oh, this is a great question. So I actually started building websites in college. Back then, they weren't a very strong marketing tool. And this is going back to the days of Ask Jeeves. But I really enjoyed doing it. I remember my computer science teacher was telling me at the time, he was saying, one of these days, this is going to be something very important, because at the time, a lot of companies were building websites, but more for startups and to pitch products and go after venture capitalists. So, but later on, I discovered that as the internet grew, that there was an opportunity here for businesses to leverage the web in a way that most small businesses weren't. As a matter of fact, I worked for a firm who did work for bigger companies like the Best Buys and the Targets and the Macy's. And this is some of the stuff that they were doing, where they were building sites and driving traffic to those websites and making sure that those websites were coming up in the search engines that we had at the time, which the bigger one, actually, believe it or not, back then was Yahoo. Mm-hmm. And then Google came along later on. So I said to myself, well, I can do the same thing, but for smaller businesses who have less access to the internet and have less time to learn all these different, tips and tricks. And to facilitate that, I actually started an earlier company called Bay Area Commerce. And this was going to be my, I always tell people I'm going to make $1 billion. This is going to be my $1 billion baby. I'm going to build this website. Every business in the world is going to sign up, and then I will retire into the sunset. Of course, that didn't happen. I mean, the company sunset is much working 24 hours a day. And this is before social media and all this other stuff. So you really had to get on there and create a ton of content and intentionally try to drive traffic from forums and things like that. So I had to go back. I looked at my business plan again and I decided, okay, I'm going to build websites. Because one of the questions a lot of the business owners would ask me was, well, could you do what you're doing on your site for my site? And at first I didn't want to, because I was going to scale this thing up at some time and have it be this big thing. But then I realized that there was an opportunity to help small business owners build something that would be effective and that would bring in business, kind of like that additional employee, but online. And the great thing about a website is that websites are, they never shut up. They're always saying what you want them to say, and they never call in sick. They're perfect. And then if you just do some of the right things to drive traffic to it, to show up in search, it can be extremely beneficial for your business. So I changed my business model to be that. So it's not just building beautiful, flashy websites. I really wanted to build a website that would be effective, that would generate business for the client, that was built the right way, and also was built to last. So I always built my websites to last a long time for my clients. And the rest of it is history. Luckily, I ran into Rick, and he believed in me and believed in what I was saying. And he's one of the few clients that I had that trusted me completely from the get. There was a little bit of skepticism at first, but once he started seeing how it worked, then he stayed with me the entire time, and now he's reaped the benefit. But he's followed everything that I've suggested to the letter, and in some cases superseded it to the point where he's showing other people how to do the same thing. So it's been a wonderful journey, and continues to be. It really does. It really is.
Clifton, one of the things that you taught me from the very beginning that really changed my mindset, and then I read about it in a book written by Donald Miller called Story Brand. And you changed the idea. You said, Rick, when I came to you and said, here's what I want you to build for me, and you kind of smiled with that nice, kind smile. and then he said something along the lines of, no, you don't. You don't want me to build that. Like I had drawn it out on a piece of paper. You don't want me to do that. And I go, well, yeah, I do. And he goes, no, you don't. And I said, well, what are you talking about? He said, well, you're building it from a business owner's perspective. Like, you're trying to convey as a business owner what you want. He goes, I'm not going to write it. I'm not going to build it for the business owner. I'm building it for the customer, or in my case, a buyer or seller. And Donald Miller in Story Brand, he writes that the website, there ought to be a guide and there ought to be a hero. That's the basic premise. And the basic premise is that you are the guide, and the customer, whether the buyer or the seller, is the hero. And that really refocused how we should build a website, that I shouldn't build it where I'm the hero. The customer comes to me, so in some sense they can be the hero, and I'm just the guide. In some sense, I'm the kind of the Yoda, they're the Luke Skywalker, right? We're the Mick, they're the Rocky Balboa, right? We want to make them the hero of whatever they want to accomplish. In our case, if they want to buy or sell a home, we want them to be. So we're not building websites designed for real estate agents or for small business owners. We're building websites to provide solutions to the consumer, so they're easy and friendly and effective.
Yes, absolutely. You're 100% right.
I always think go ahead.
And that was one of the key, really paradigm shifts in our relationship And I stopped trying to design. I never then told you how to build a website. And I think arguably, whether for me or some of our coaching students, you probably build a dozen or more websites, right?
Yeah.
And I never came to you and said, build it this way anymore, after you kind of, in some sense, enlightened me on how to build the website.
Yeah, it's a very common conversation that I have with business owners and other real estate agents is, everyone comes in with an idea of what they want their site to be. And it's kind of an old way of thinking. It's kind of like, I try to tell them, it's not like we're decorating your house where you're going to be living in. Imagine that you're going to have guests coming over and they're going to be staying over. So how would you make them feel comfortable? How would you make them be the hero of this story? In a sense, you really are building your website for your customer. You're not really building it for yourself. So I always tell people, if you find yourself more in the forefront of your site, you're going to drive people away. If you find yourself more in the background and just kind of guiding people around, and one of the great ways of being able to do that Donald Miller talks about is if you figure out the questions that your customers already have, and you start answering those questions within the first 5 to 10 seconds of them getting to your website, you immediately get a connection with that customer. If you start offering tools that provide solutions right away, right, and it could be something as simple as get a home. If I find out what your home is worth, and putting that somewhere above the fold for someone that's a seller that may be considering selling, versus coming out and talking about how you've sold a million homes over the last year. It's great for you, but immediately puts you above them and puts them below, which starts pulling people away. We really want to elevate the customer as soon as they get to your site, and then you're kind of the person who's guiding them to what they're looking for.
And Clifton, we've seen websites move from having lots of different links, tabs, photos, images, videos, all to a more simpler format. And you and I talk about this frequently, and you reference Donald Miller, and one of the things that Donald Miller recommends is that in some sense you got to have caveman speak. Buy here, sell here, get an offer here. It's very, very simple. And us as business people or real estate agents, we want to write a paragraph of what somebody ought to do. But it's simply here, there, do that. And it's very, very simple, and it's very convenient. And if you think about some of the best and most profitable websites in the world, they're as simple. Think about Google. It has one bar. It has the company name and one bar. You know exactly what to do when you show up on Google. How many times do you show up on a website and you have no idea what to do? Like, I'd like to buy, or I'd like to sell, or I'd like to have their service or product. I have no idea what to do because you've made it so complicated to communicate with you.
Exactly.
So in some sense, we use caveman speak. Buy here, sell there, click here, call here. And you have a particular place that you like to put phone numbers, links, contact us tabs that really are where the consumer wants to find them.
Exactly. Yes. I get into the mind of the consumer and I batter the sites. I say, okay, if I'm here, what are my eyes doing? Where am I drifting to? And you'll find a lot of times if someone's on a desktop, for instance, and they're looking, and it depends on your niche and your business, but I'll use a real estate site as an example, because real estate tends to be a more research-based activity for a person versus a plumber who may have a plumbing client who they may have a leak and they have an emergency. They're not going to be scanning as much. They're really going to be looking for that contact number to get the problem solved. But if I'm thinking about buying or selling a house, there are a few relationships that I'm concerned about. My relationship with the realtor, maybe the company, and what do they have to offer me to help me better understand the process. So there's going to be a little bit more research. So when they come to your site, it makes sense that they will spend more time. And so what I do as a designer is I try to say, okay, well, where are they going to be where are their eyes going to be spending more time? And I want to put the valuable things there. So if you have maybe a download, well, I want to make sure that that's on the right. It's in clear colors, and there's a button that pops out that lets them know that this is very, very easy to get to. if it's your contact information, I want to make sure that that's in the header and that it shows up on every page of the website. And I also want to have it show up on the bottom and also in the middle, because people move around on those sites. They slide around on their sites. You want it to be that no matter where your customer is on your website, it's almost like there's an assistant there to help them, right? Oh, where's the phone number? Oh, there it is. Oh, where's that button? Oh, there it is. Oh, how do I do this search? Oh, there it is right there. So there's always these sort of, and the thing is that the customer, they don't really notice it because it's more subliminal, but they feel like this is a very helpful site. This is a very easy site for me to use. These people are very easy to work with, and they have never even met you yet, right? So it's a way of sort of offering this sort of customer first attitude with your virtual presence at first, and then by the time they meet you, it's just a continuation of what you put out there.
Mm-hmm. So where does SEO and having people find you and the marketing come into play with the web presence, Clifton? Because it's like what Rick was saying, you could have a beautiful storefront, a beautiful website, but if people can't find you, it's pointless. So how do you address that?
Oh yes, SEO, search engine optimization. So with the web and having a website, there are basically two critical things that you absolutely have to have. One is you want to have visibility. Visibility just means that if I think of your industry or your service, and I go to that one Google bar and I do that search, now it's geolocalized, but in my local area, are you visible? So if I do that search, will I see you? So that's visibility. Mm-hmm. Traffic is what happens after I see you, right? So when I see you, is what I'm seeing sticky or attractive enough for me to click through and go to the website? And the amount of people that do that is essentially your traffic. Okay. So sometimes, to be honest, it's really tough to have traffic without visibility. Mm-hmm. You really want traffic. And as we increase traffic, then you start noticing more calls, more submissions, and so on. So search engine optimization is basically optimizing the website with those relevant keywords that people are searching for, so that I come up in the first 1 to 6 search results on the first page of Google. And there are many different types of searches now. As a matter of fact, Rick, you'll notice it's gotten even more complicated over time. Ever since we started, there's now more space in maps. There are more ads now. There's featured snippets now, and so on. But all these things all serve to help with people finding you. And what we want to do is, we want, when people do that search, maybe it's for real estate, or how do I buy a house, or should I sell a house with a realtor, or whatever it is, we want you to come up, and we want you to come up multiple times. Because sometimes people have to keep seeing, if I keep seeing this Rick Fuller keeps showing up every single time I do a search, he must be somebody that is credible, because it seems like he's making sure that I see him. That's going to increase traffic to your website. And as soon as it starts increasing traffic, you start getting more calls. So search engine optimization in the marketing is that whole process of getting, your website to the point where people are doing a search for your key terms and you're showing up in that search.
Mm-hmm.
What's really interesting about the SEO work is that when you think about it, most business people are also consumers of other products and services. And if they needed to rent a car, they would Google it, rental car places near me. If they wanted to eat at a restaurant and they weren't not new to that area, they would Google it. Stay at a hotel, they would Google it. They'd read reviews, they'd the credibility, and they would do those searches. Hotels in my city, restaurants in my city. They would do those searches, and yet most small business owners never do that search for their own industry. They do it for everything else, but they don't do that as if the consumer is searching for them, the buyer, seller, the potential client, customer. And what we find is that there are just as many customers that are searching for your products and services as you and others are searching for other products and services. It's not unique to one industry. Even Tesla, Elon Musk, when he sold the Cybertruck, you would buy it online. You don't go into a showroom. There's 3 models to choose from. And at the end, you make a $100, $200, or $300 deposit on a Tesla Cybertruck. You are buying a truck based off a video, some photos, a little bit of text, all on a website. And what we have to realize is the entire world is moving in a direction where your website is becoming your actual storefront. Like that is now the storefront. A sign, a business without a sign is a sign of no business. If you don't have a storefront online, you're missing out on opportunities.
Yes, very, very true, especially now in these days. One of the ways I put it to anyone who's exploring getting a website or wondering if they should get a website today, I tell them, you know, the new malls, you know, you go walk around and you see that the malls are all closed. I said the new malls now is the internet.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone is now forced to go on there and be on there. And if you're not there, you're missing out on even more traffic and more opportunities to grow your business than you would know. So, and it's still, you know, it's still a daunting number. It's roughly about 65% to almost 70% of small businesses don't actually have a website.
Wow.
Or yeah, so, and the thing is that the search engines like Google and Yahoo and Bing, but specifically Google, they're so fanatic now about this local search, and serving up relevant websites, right? So they want to, if you're trying to buy something, they want to serve up a store. So if you have a local store, they're going to serve up your store if it matches the search query. If you're a real estate broker, real estate agent, and you're active online, you're putting out educational content, well, they want to serve up your content. And they want to serve it up closest to the person doing the search. But if you're not even online, and what you'll notice is, and I've done this with other clients, is what you'll notice is sometimes they'll actually skip your entire city altogether and recommend someone else in another city. And essentially it pulls that customer away from the local market where you are. And it's a similar strategy to what Zillow did, right? Zillow didn't have any offices or physical presences in the local communities where they were marketing, but because there was such a lackluster amount of actual real estate websites or even mortgage websites, they were able to dominate that with just having more marketing, having more web presence. And if you look at them today, this is where people go. But I always tell real estate agents and brokers, you guys are local. You actually have more advantage than the Zillows and the Trulias and so on, because the people that you're in the actual communities, and they're now trying to get into the communities though, but I still think that the local agent has all the power that they would use it.
Mm-hmm.
There are still things, especially in our real estate industry, that are hyper local. There are insights, whether it's taxation or schools or neighborhoods or community parks or what's happening in the city or what the new development is down the street, that an agent, where the local fireworks are going to take place, whatever it's going to be, there is still very much hyper local relative, what we call long tail work that you can do. And building that content can provide great credibility, and you're writing about that city all the time, writing about that community all the time. And when that gets populated on your website, it helps continue to build brand credibility.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, you mentioned Zillow, Clifton. Do you happen to know what the term Zillow, where it came from? Christina, do you?
I've heard this before, but I can't remember.
My kids say, Dad, you are full of useless information. This will be one of those key points.
The dad fact.
Yeah, this is a dad fact. Zillow is a term used to describe a zillion pillows. That's the term, Zillow. Zillion pillows is the idea. And Zillow here this week just announced that it's now going to hire real estate agents on their own. And so that's a huge announcement. They are going to be independent real estate agents that work directly with Zillow in an employee relationship. So they're kind of unique. They are going to specialize in Zillow. And what's interesting about that is that if all of your business comes from Zillow today, as a real estate professional, like if that's where you're picking up some of your customers and clients and meeting people, you are in big trouble. You must diversify that today. And some of the work that Clifton's talking about helps you do that. Showing up organically on Google. Google AdWords can help you. Certainly Google My Business. I actually think, Clifton, that Google My Business is going to be the biggest game changer in the future. It's interesting, if you think about Google My Business, and we often don't even contemplate this or even think about it, when you do a search, and say you search for a restaurant near you, Google prioritizes which restaurant shows up. Not only do they, I mean, so there might be 100 restaurants near you, and Google selects the 3 or 4 to populate at the top of the list. Very interesting. They are choosing that restaurant. Now they're choosing it based on geographic location, relevancy, reviews, all of those things. And then Google does something else that is often subliminal. So they prioritize which ones they want you to see, and then they make it really easy for you to contact them. Click here to call.
Yeah.
Click here to get directions. Click here to visit the website. Read the description. Read their posts. Whatever. And so they're prioritizing it. Then they're making it really easy. You remember another company that made it really easy to engage or buy, make a purchase? Amazon, and their one click.
Yeah.
And Amazon discovered with their one click that if they went and they made it easier for the consumer to buy, they would buy a lot more.
Yeah.
And so I think Google My Business is ultimately going to be that game changer in the local marketplace, because they have the ability to prioritize, and then they make it so easy for the consumer just to click and connect with you. If you're a local business, call you, get directions, read reviews, and it's all there. All the other websites, you got to go and you got to dig a little deeper.
Yeah.
You got to click, you got to look, you got to search, you got to go, maybe do put in a little bit of text to find what you're looking for. They populate it and then prioritize it. That's a lot of power.
It's a lot of power, and they keep adding more features every time you turn around. But you can tell that what Google is really trying to do is they're trying to keep you literally in search. So making it as valuable as possible for the business owners, especially local business owners, to have these easy links where people can get the information. So now you'll start noticing, Google introduced the ability for you to add posts to your website. And it's not just any kind of post. You can actually add offers, you can add events. They're all shown on your Google My Business listing. I mean, they'll have a link that will take you to your website, but really, they really want you to stay on there and find the information there. And I tell every business owner, whatever Google has in terms of a business listing or Google My Business, you want to max that out as much as possible. If you want to add photos, add as many photos as possible. Add your videos on there. Put your business hours on there. They have a little extra website, sort of website thing that they have. Put your information on there as well. Because at the end of the day, it's still driving traffic to your business. And then we can always integrate and link that with your current website, which gives you a little bit of a boost. Actually, it gives you a nice big boost as well. And then, of course, the reviews. Google reviews trump Yelp reviews by far, because it's an open system, meaning I can just open up Google and do a search and see those reviews in addition to all the other search items that I would see. Whereas with Yelp, I'd have to specifically be going there for that review or to learn a little bit more about that company. So Yelp is not as much of a search engine, open search engine as Google is. Everybody goes to Google. So I always tell them, hey, if you're building up reviews, I want you to build up your Google reviews, make that priority number 1, and then your Yelp priority number 2, and build up those two, and they'll both help each other. But again, like you said, Google is more focused on adding more tools to that Google My Business to help people better be able to get to businesses or give more exposure to businesses. So it's a very, very important tool in your toolbox.
And this is accelerated today. You think about COVID. If a business didn't have a restaurant didn't have a delivery service, they didn't have a takeout option, they didn't have outdoor seating, it'd be very difficult for a restaurant to survive today.
Yeah.
And if you think about so many businesses today where their online presence is becoming more and more a priority as a result of their brick and mortar location, it might be closed. It might be deemed non-essential. It might be something difficult to open up. Or if you can open it up, think about a movie theater. You can't, right now, you can't open up these movie theaters. Those are businesses that are really, really struggling in today's market. And so really ensuring that you this COVID and all that's taken place with shelter in place has really escalated and accelerated the direction of people going to virtual relationships and virtual online.
Yeah.
So Clifton, if a small business owner or an agent wants to start building a website, because you are in fact said that a lot of them are not, where do they start? How do they do the branding, marketing, keywords, reviews, all these great things that you both are recommending? Because it's needed. It's not an option. They absolutely need a web presence.
Yes, they do. And I think in a perfect world, one of my favorite things to do when I sit down with a real estate agent, or actually with most of my customers, I always tell me and Rick's story. And what Rick really did was he took the whole web piece of his business and he put a professional in that spot. And it's one of the things that Rick is really good at. If you look at his business today, he has experts in different areas of the business. He's got a content expert. He's got, someone that manages transactions, a buyer specialist, a listing specialist. And one of the things I tell small business owners that they miss out on, because some of them try to do it themselves, is I say you really need a pro, you need a professional in that spot to help you with the web portion. Mm-hmm. Because there's so much of it now. I mean, it's the amount of things that you actually have to know and do correctly, and then it's also very competitive as well. So I would say the first thing you want to do is you want to find a good, competent web designer, preferably one that builds beautiful and effective websites for businesses.
With the web address of what?
creativeweb.com. Okay. That's the one you want to find. That's the one I recommend. There are others, but I recommend that one. Okay.
Perfect.
So that would be the first thing. And then the second thing that I would say is, as quickly as you can, get a website going. Get a website up. And here's why you want to do it quickly. It's actually it's about 560 something thousand websites that are released every single day, that are launched by people like me, launch a website. But if you really think about it, there's really only one real search engine. We call that one Google. There are others. There's Yahoo and Bing, but Google just has the lion's share. But it's still really just one company. And they only really have one indexing machine. They have to index those websites. It's a pretty powerful indexer, but it still takes time. So if I launch a website today and just left it, Google may not see that website for about 4 months. I actually have to physically do things, submit a sitemap, let them know that it's on there for them to send their bots. And they have tools that help you do that, to crawl the site and they say, oh, we've got it. Now we can index your pages and start showing you in search at whatever page you would rank on. So the sooner you get on there, you actually are dropped. Now today you're dropped into something called a sandbox. And what a sandbox is kind of like a website prison. They put you in there and they want to see if you're going to be around, how long you're going to be around for. And you start going through what's called a seasoning process. Nobody knows how long the sandbox lasts, but I just know that the more active you are on your website, the quicker you get out of the sandbox. And then you can start getting into ranking. So I tell them, if you've never had a website before, you've never done it, then you need to get one built quickly, and then so you can start the process of climbing through the ranks. So how do you build one? I would say hire a web designer, a good web designer, to help you build one. If it's not in the budget, there are other tools that you can use to at least get something out and start getting your domain out of that sandbox. But get one built. And then the second thing is start thinking about building a valuable website. Back in the day, it used to be building a website more like a flyer. Hey, here's what I do, and here's where we do it, and here's where to find me. Mm-hmm. But now people are used to value and apps and things being more interactive. Mm-hmm. So you want to have a valuable website. And what is a valuable website? Well, it's a website where if somebody visits it, there's something to benefit them. And it could be something as simple as being able to search for a home. That's a huge value. If I can search the MLS, I can't search the MLS on my own. But if I can go to your website and search the MLS, then that's huge value. And I just did this the other day. I did a search on Zillow and I saw a bunch of properties. But I went to Rick's site and I did a search there for the same kind of search, but I saw a different list, a more recent, up-to-date list, and stuff that was marked wrong on Zillow but marked correctly on Rick's. That's why I always recommend people go to local real estate agent sites to do your searches versus going to Zillow. So having a tool like that, and you can even market it that way. You can say, hey, instead of going to Zillow, who doesn't actually know the neighborhood, come to my website, and here's a video on how to actually do searches on my website.
Okay.
And you put that out there, and that now you're offering something of value, right? The other thing that you can offer that's valuable is education. You know, a lot of people are jumping into the real estate game with very little education, and so what happens is they end up making mistakes. It's kind of like when somebody tells me they want to build a website by themselves. I kind of already know that there's a series of mistakes that are going to happen along the way. So I have to offer some education. Same thing if someone says I want to buy a house on my own or sell my own house. I highly don't recommend it. As a person who has seen the difference, right? I think Rick had to bail me out like a few years ago. So I tell people, you know, always go with the professional, but that could be an educational piece that you offer as well, in addition to having the tools. But a website allows you to be able to do that. And the beautiful thing about a website is, you know, websites are pretty much bottomless. If you have something to say, if you have something to teach about, to write about, just post it on your website. If you have a video you make, just post it on your website and then tell people to go there. Now, here's what happens. You get rewarded for posting relevant content on your website. People are searching for that stuff. And if you're the only one doing the content creation and putting that on there, when people are doing that search, your information is coming up and they're seeing you. And how much can you put on? Well, as much as you want, right? Once you have one. So that's why I say, you know, when you're coming out and you're looking to build something, think more long term. Like, okay, I'm building something that's going to grow and help my customers. It's going to be something of value. So you really want to put some serious thought into it. And you want to work with a professional to be able to do that. So you build the website, then you move on to the next piece, which is basically driving traffic to the website and getting some visibility. So you want to get some search engine optimization going. And one of the things that I can help with is I can tell you what people are searching for. I can tell you how many people are doing that search and what to create your content around, so that you can pull some of that traffic. Combine that with some social media work and just some personal work of driving traffic to your website on your own, and pretty soon you'll have a nice little machine that's giving you 1 to 2 submissions or calls, you know, per day, or it might start per week. And then the next thing you know, it's kind of an investment that you made that's just sitting there, and it's continuing to provide a return for you over time. And then I said, whatever happens, you know, keep it going. There are a lot of people whose physical businesses have closed, but they're still able to do business because they have their virtual business on, they have their website on. So they're able to still be able to do business. And I think that's just a very powerful thing.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome. That's exactly what Pier 1 has done. They closed all their physical stores, but now they have their online store. So
yes.
That's exactly right.
That Pier 1 made was they didn't hire me to build their website. Big error. I'm just kidding.
Right? So true. Rick, how has your website evolved over these past 10 years? What have you seen come and go, and how has it impacted your business?
Well, I'll tell you, it has been one of the great assets that we've employed from the very beginning. And we were presented with options like a lot of people have, and I call them templated websites. So you're with a company and they give you kind of a version of that website. It's a skin of that website. And what we found, and one of the things that Clifton taught me, is that those may be beautiful, but they are not effective. They do not show up. You know, you go buy a website for $20 online, it's $19.99 on GoDaddy, and you're getting this little template. You plug and play a few things, and those might be beautiful aesthetically, but they don't show up online. They're not effective at all. So one of the things that we've learned is you got to constantly continue to have a custom website, not one that's a cookie cutter templated website. And then you got to continue to add to it. That you can never stop adding to it. Clifton, I don't know how many blogs we've sent you. They've got to be in the thousands now.
I sent 20 this week alone.
Yes.
The number of blogs we send, and what we do is I always say to Clifton, add some of your Clifton sauce on it and put it online, because it works when he adds some of his sauce to it. But we've probably written over 1,000 blogs, and what are we trying to accomplish? Well, we want to educate the consumer on all of the various aspects of living in our community and buying real estate in our community, and how to buy real estate, multiple offers, and all the things that are included. And then we want those blogs to live on our website that allows us to create better search engine optimization. We want to move from page 5 to page 4 to 3 to 2 to 1, and then finally on the first page of Google, and then the number 1 slot on the first page of Google. And by writing those blogs, the other one we learned is videos are very, very helpful. We've done hundreds of videos walking the consumer through various aspects of buying or selling real estate so that they are knowledgeable about what's happening. And then it also provides a back end benefit to us by increasing the quality of our website. Probably the biggest change that we made, Clifton, when we first built the website, when you built it, the mobile responsive wasn't available. And then we went back and we did it again. I don't know if you remember that. We revamped the website, making sure that it was mobile responsive, because now so many searches are not happening on a desktop or even a laptop. They're happening on a mobile device. They're happening on a cell phone. They're happening on an iPad mini or something. And we had to make that change because our website was archaic in that sense, and we needed to make it mobile responsive, and you did that.
Yes. Very true. Yeah, we've probably gone through about maybe 3 or 4 iterations of your site. And one thing that's really awesome about you, Rick, is you're always ready to adapt the site to the latest trends so that it works better for your customers, and you're constantly adding value to it. And I think we're even doing some things now even more recently. I think just again speaks to the fact that it just adds value and creates a little bit more synergy for the site. So it's not just a tool for telling people where you are or what you're doing, but it's something that's useful that people can actually use. And
it's constantly evolving, especially all the variations of Google, whether Google Ads or Google Directories or Google My Business or any showing up Google organically on Google. It's constantly changing, and you got to constantly adjust your website accordingly.
So Clifton, we just said that it's constantly evolving. What do you see in the near future for web design, especially since we've had COVID, we're all sheltering in place, things are going to be online more. We discussed that. What do you see in the near future?
This is a great question. So again, I see more application type things happening online, right? So I recently did some work for a client where now they want people to be able to upload their documents from their website, right? So go to my website and now upload your documents. That's more like an app type use versus the normal use of a website where websites are more for information. So you're going to see more functionality come to websites. And there's a lot of functionality you can do with websites today, but you're going to see even more of that because of the situation that we're in and people not being able to move around as easily as they used to. You're going to see more minimalism in websites, right? So more cleaner designs, less clutter, fewer pieces of information, like Rick was saying, fewer navigational links, but deeper links. So you may have 4 or 5 main links that lead to deeper links later on with some of these websites. You may also start seeing more educational platforms on sites where people can take courses. I saw a really cool attorney who has a course that you can take on her site as a client, or as a person who just wants to know more about that type of law and what's entailed. Take a little, 5 video course on it. And what's really cool about that is you sign up for the course. Well, she just collected some information and now she has some people to remarket to using that. So I see as time goes on, I see websites becoming more and more important, more and more integral. There's some phenomenal stories about websites that have completely changed business. And I know a lot of people know about Amazon, and it's incredible how Amazon has taken over the world with just this little website. And there's not a single Amazon store anywhere yet, even though they're trying to do it. But they're ultra successful. But if you really look at the core of what they're doing, of what Amazon is doing, and I truly believe every business owner can do it. The core of what Amazon did was they provided an interface, which is a website, where people can go and have quick access to their product or their service. Okay, and then the only thing that they layered on top of it was just fanatical customer service, right? So they focus on how can we make the process of our customer using our website as simple and as easy as possible. How can we do that? And they focus on that year after year, and it's paid them. And so whether you're a boutique that's selling shoes, or you're a real estate agent or a mortgage broker, if you're constantly thinking about your web presence and saying, how can I make this so simple that somebody can easily come here and use my service virtually, I think you're going to be completely fine. You'll always be on the cutting edge of the web, and it will benefit you. And you will do less, I call it, you do less manual labor, right, of going and acquiring a client. And you can now leverage the search engines like Google, who are happy to bring clients to you as long as you have useful, relevant, valuable information or valuable tools on your website.
That's awesome. And Rick, how about at a micro level, what's the future of real estate and your website?
Well, I think that especially with COVID now, I think that people are going to want to view real estate in a different format. You know, we're used to seeing real estate with photos, and you have some real estate agents or homeowners, and they're snapping a photo with their iPhone or you know, with a Samsung camera, and it's just not great quality, and it's not they're not well done. And I think there's going to be a significant push to professional photos, videography, drone footage, 3D tours, Matterport tours, where you could literally walk through the home like you're there, and you could walk through I mean, you could literally zoom in on an appliance and get the brand and model number and then move on all virtually. And I think we're going to see more and more of that. I think we're going to see more digital contracts, where we're going to continue to see digital signatures and DocuSign, making this process easier and easier. There was a time when we had a stack of paperwork to sign, and we'd go from one house to the next to find all those signers that needed to sign. Today, we upload it to the cloud, and everybody joins in and signs the document. And a moment later, we have an original where everybody has signed it. It's not a fax copy. Do you remember the fax copies where it was at the end of faxing it 3 or 4 times? It wasn't really a fax copy. It was just kind of one big black dot. And we're moving, now we're in a place where we can have that done quickly and efficiently. It was funny, we had a client, he's probably in his late 80s, maybe early 90s, says, I don't want any of those digital signature things. Well, one day he was traveling, we called him and said, we've got something for you to sign, and we'll package it together. And he says, well, maybe I'll try the digital signature thing. After signing on his iPhone, I think he was on his way to Yosemite or some park in the Sierra Nevadas. He called me back and he said, Rick, never again have me come in and physically sign. Do everything digital. So I think we're going to see more of that. And I think one of the things that we're going to see, and this kind of is concerning for some people, and it's artificial intelligence. I think we're going to see a huge wave of artificial intelligence. You know, right now you start off the search, you say, okay, this is the city I want. This is the price point. How many bedrooms, how many bathrooms, how much square footage? You know, maybe I want a large lot, small lot, whatever. I think there's a time coming where you're going to see a property and you're going to say, I like that one. And you're going to click it. And it's just now going to go find other properties like that one. And then the more you search, the more data you give them, the more they're going to be able to give you relevant property that fits your criteria. So there's going to be less, you know, plugging in searches. There's just going to be more of, I like that home. Therefore, here, if you like that one, you like this one. If you like this book, Amazon recommends you read that book. If you like this soft drink, they recommend that you try this one. And I think you're going to see more of that in real estate. So I think it's an exciting time to come. I think all of this makes the process easier. I think the process becomes more intuitive because people know what's next. And I think it provides a better experience to those that are buying and selling real estate in the future. And so to me, we're excited about what the future holds, especially what's happening online, and looking forward to taking those transitions and embedding them into our business.
Awesome. Well, that's all the time we have for today. Clifton, you are such an important part of our team. You're brilliant, and we can't tell you how much we appreciate you. So yes. For anyone who's watching, CliftonCreativeWeb.com, he is the best in the business. So thank you for joining us today, Clifton. And thank you, Rick. As always, you give us invaluable advice for agents. and for small business owners. So thank you so much for sharing your resource. If you want me to delete his name and email, I will. we all know that a website is a must, but you gave us the tools to grow our business. And so thank you. Be sure to subscribe to the Rick Fuller podcast and check out rickfuller.com to view how Clifton and Rick have partnered together to create an outstanding and scalable web design. Thank you for spending part of your day with us. And remember what Rick always says, not owning real estate is hazardous to your wealth. Thank you, you guys.
Thanks, guys. Take care.
Bye.
Thank you.